Welcome to the 7th video in this series, making a 2D racer with Unity. In this one, what we're going to do is set things up with splines and waypoints so we're ready to implement the CPU car navigation. Before we do this in the IDE, it's probably worth going through things here first so I can describe to you exactly how we're going to set things up. So one of the more common ways to do navigation in 2D racers like this one is to put what are known as splines on the track. In fact, we're going to put one spline on the track, and by spline we literally mean a curved path. For us, that's going to be more or less an ideal racing line, so it'll probably look something a little bit like this by the time we've finished, and we're going to very deliberately leave a gap here. And as you'll see inside the code, what you can actually do is use this spline then to navigation. So we could, if we wanted to, have our CPU cars simply meander following along this spline, maybe with different speeds and things like that, so it looks more or less like variable gameplay, but what they will do is follow the same racing line. Now when it comes to the gameplay and a bit of variation, we don't really want them to follow the same line all the time. So we need to find a way to give it some variability and also some skill levels and personality later on. Now one thing we could do here is draw more than one spline and then simply have them labelled as good or bad and then choose them based on the skill level of the computer car and even switch between them each lap so we get some variability in the gameplay. However, to get something actually playable you need quite a few splines and it quickly becomes really difficult to manage. So we're not going to go for that approach. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to break up our spline using waypoints. And that literally means we're going to, every, let's say 0.5 units or something like that, place a waypoint along a spline. And we're going to use those waypoints for our navigation. Now, as soon as I say that, I imagine you're thinking, well, hang on, that seems to be a worse variant than actually using the spline to follow. Because now we'll basically be going straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line, and look even worse and more repetitive than it did using just a spline. That's correct, except that's not entirely what we're going to do. What we're going to do when everything's finished is we're going to have our waypoints, and we're also going to have some raycasts out from the sides. And the raycasts on these waypoints, what they're going to do is detect the edges of the track. And then when we're target setting with our car, depending on its skill level, it'll have a little bit of random deviation from the waypoint. So if it's a high skilled car, then it might be restricted to maybe be within this range of the waypoint. If it's low skilled, then it'll be restricted between the extremes here. So as we're traveling through the waypoints with a high skilled car, you might get something that say takes a line maybe like this. And then with a low skilled car, you might get something that's extreme and takes an absolutely terrible racing line. And don't worry if you think that we could end up zigzagging really badly, we'll put some logic in to prevent this. The main thing is the low skilled cars can really deviate a long way from the ideal line. So the way the cars will navigate is by knowing what their next waypoint is, then they'll actually have their target assigned according to their deviations, that's this red circle here, and then they'll actually travel towards that target. When it gets close to it, you'll see that the waypoint will know its next waypoint, so that one will be set. There'll be another target set with a little bit of deviation from where they were, say here, and that'll be the next point it drives to, and so on. And what we'll also do is make sure that we lerp or linear interpolate the rotation a little bit so that we don't instantly face our particular waypoint, we steer rather smoothly. And when all of that logic is implemented, you'll see it has the effect of looking like the cars are taking completely different lines as they're driving, and none of these lines are repeated at all. Now it's going to take us a few videos to get this full implementation done, and in this video what we're going to do is get the spline on the screen and split that up into waypoints. So back in the Unity IDE then, what I'd like to do actually is delete 3 of the cars that we have on the screen here to just leave one behind. I'd like to check this one on the right hand side. Okay, it doesn't have any player car movement or anything like that, that's all right. Then what we can do is install the Splines package so we can draw a spline on the screen here. To do that, we can go to Window, and then we need to go to Package Management, Package Manager. And then you'll find on the left-hand side your own assets, the built-in and also Unity registry. If it's not selected, select the Unity registry. And if it's the first time you've loaded it in a while, it might whir away here to fetch them all. But if you search then in there, you should be able to type Splines. Then here, find the Splines package. So I'll select that and click Install. Now, when I do that, Unity is going to whir away for a while. So I'm going to fade out and be right back. Okay, so the package is installed. Hopefully it has for you as well. I'm going to close this down. And with it installed, you should notice we get this little tool here, which is for spline creation. So to create one then, it's simply a matter of clicking here. So I'll left click on that. And then if you hover over the track here, you'll see you've got this little water droplet. That's actually for placing the nodes or points of our spline. Now these do take a little bit of getting used to when you first use them. So don't get too frustrated if you find yourself having to delete it and start again. It does have its quirks. What we need to remember to do here is to leave a gap between the end and the start. That'll be important for getting the waypoints to work. So in my case, for example, here, I'm going to have the starting grid around here. So therefore start the spline off around here. So I'm going to left click, say here. Doing that, you'll notice on the left hand side it's created this spline here. On the right hand side we have a spline container, and here we have one spline. You can have many splines inside a container. We're only going to be dealing with the one. You'll also notice when you hover the mouse here, you get this black line. Now it's simply a case of clicking and then adding nodes in for the spline to make more or less an ideal racing line. Now don't worry if you don't get it too accurate to what you want. We can always adjust it later on. I'll show you how to do that. The main thing now is just to draw some kind of line around the track. One thing I will say is make sure not to get the lines right up against the edges of the track. Otherwise, the deviations later on might be a little bit difficult and the cars will end up continuously crashing against the edges, which we don't want. So I'm going to avoid, for example, this one here by going around there like that, and then swing out here for a more racing line type shape, and then come back here and maybe finish around here, which leaves us nice space for the grid in the middle and the starting line. So with that last point placed, I'm going to hit escape on the keyboard, and you'll notice on the left-hand side that's now deselected this here, so we're no longer adding any more points in here, and it's also switched here to the context being the spline. With that selected here, and without this tool selected, we're now able to select and manipulate these points. Note the move tool is selected here. So if you need to, what you can do now is click on a point, and there's the move tool, and just move the points around as you need. Now you can do some extra editing as well with one selected. If you open this up, you can click on Bezier. You'll get some Bezier handles to adjust the shapes of the curves. And you can also add and remove points as well. So when you have a point selected, say this one, if I hit delete, I'm not going to do it, but if I hit delete, what it'll do is then, surprise, surprise, delete that particular point. And you can also insert points inside here as well. So if I select the points tool here, being in the context of the spline, then hover over, for example, here, and then click, that's now inserted a point here, pressing escape on the keyboard. And now that point is embedded in the line there. So like I said, it is a little bit fiddly. You probably find yourself, if it's the first time you've used it, having to delete it and start again. But hopefully you can get yourself a spline drawn, and we can use that then to start creating our waypoints. So for the waypoint creation, what we'll do is add a new component to our track. I'm going to bring up the scripts here and go into the track. Then we can right click here and we're going to go to create and scripting and a mono behavior script. And that's going to be called TrackBuilder. And then right click again, create, and then we'll go to scripting. And in this case, we just want an empty C# script. We don't need a behavior. And this is going to be our waypoint. That's going to hold then the position of each of the waypoints on the track. So with that done, let's double click on waypoint. So inside VS Code then, let's set in our waypoint class a position here, which is going to have a public get and a private set. And then we can actually set that from the constructor directly. So we'll send into the constructor a vector2 position. I'll change that for a small p. And then we can set the position is equal to our position. What we'll also do at the same time is override the toString as well. I think that'll help us out a little bit in the debugger when we're setting these up to make sure that everything looks okay. So from here we can return waypoint and then the position is equal to position. And for now that's all we need. Let's go into our TrackBuilder. And inside here we don't need the update. We won't be doing anything with that, so we can delete it. What we do need is access to our spline. So at the top here then we'll serialize a field which is going to be a spline container. We should be able to import unityengine.splines from the package. And then for creating our waypoints, we'll also serialize an interval between them so we can tune this track by track. As you'll see, depending on the sort of nature of the corners and things, you can either spread them out or make them closer together. And then finally, for now, we'll add in a private variable as well, and that's simply going to be a list of waypoints, and we'll initialize that with new and also add the system collections generic. So inside the start then, the first thing we'll do is we'll make a check actually if our spline is null or not, and also whether our spline container actually has any splines. Because if it doesn't, then we've got a little bit of a problem. I'll drag this over here so you can see a little bit more. So inside here, we'll put a debug log that something has gone very, very wrong with the TrackBuilder. So either the spline is null or the spline's count is 0. In either case, we have a problem. If it is, then what we're going to do is the enabled is equal to false, and we'll simply return. Otherwise, we should be able to start building our waypoints. Rather than do that directly in the start, what we'll do is make ourselves a function actually specifically for this. So we can do private void and build waypoints. And before I forget, because I've got a habit of doing this, we'll put this straight away here. Okay, so building the waypoints is fairly straightforward. What we're going to do is simply start right at the beginning of the spline and go forward along the spline in steps of our interval here. And at each of those intervals, place a waypoint until we get to the end of the spline. And then inside build waypoints, the first thing we'll do is clear our waypoints. Technically for our game, we don't need to do that, but if you extend this and want to, I don't know, reset things whilst inside the scene, it might be useful to clear them. So we'll do that. And what we want to do is basically walk the entire length of our spline, and at intervals that we've set above with this, interval parameter up here, we're going to then save waypoints. So we need to get the length of the spline, which luckily is simple to do. We can make a new float here. We'll call this length, and that's going to be equal then to our spline dot, and there's a calculate length. And this will get us then the length of the spline in units. Now it might be a bit weird to see this because that's not a spline, is it? It's our spline container. And you can have more than one spline in the container. When we use the calculate length on the spline though, like this, what it'll do is by default take the first spline that it has as a child. Now to have got this far, it definitely has to have one. But in the case that you do things with more than one spline, what you would want to do here is spline.splines and then use the index of whichever one you're wanting to use. In our case, we'll only ever have one, so this will give us the length of that particular spline. Now at this point, I'd like to actually debug log here so that we can see in the logger what's actually going on. Because if we don't have a length or an interval or anything like that, we need to know because things aren't going to work afterwards. With that done though, what we can effectively do is iterate along the length. So we'll make a new float called distance, which is the distance that we are, and then we'll loop now in a while loop, and we'll keep looping whilst the distance is less than the length. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get the position at these intervals along the spline. And to do that, we can use a function called evaluate position. And the type that returns is actually what's known as a float 3. That's an x and a y and a z. So we'll call this then the spline position. And that's going to be equal then to our spline dot and evaluate position. And we need to send into here a percentage, or a fraction if you like, that represents how far along we are. And that will be then our distance divided by our length. With that position, what we can do then is we can get hold of our waypoints and we can add ourselves now a new waypoint. In the constructor here, we're taking a vector 2, so we'll do a new and a vector 2. And then we'll take the spline position.x and the spline position.y. And then finally, very easy to forget, which would lead to an infinite loop, we need to increment our distance by the interval. And once all of that's done, we can then log to the debugger what's going on. So we'll say the TrackBuilder built and this many waypoints. So we've done quite a bit there. We have our waypoint class, which has a position. It takes in a vector 2 and sets that up. And inside the TrackBuilder then, as soon as that's ready to go and the start is called, if it has a spline, hopefully it does, it's going to invoke the build waypoints and set up these waypoints all the way along the spline at our given interval. To make this easier to visualize, what we'll do is we'll add some gizmos to this as well. So we'll implement the onDraw gizmos, and if waypoints is null, which it shouldn't be, or the count is 0, which also it shouldn't be, then we'll return. Otherwise we can do a for each loop and loop through each of our waypoints. So we'll say for each var wp, and the collection is our waypoints. Then we can get hold of our gizmos and dot and draw sphere, and we're drawing here at the waypoint itself dot position. And then we can set the radius at 0.15f. What we can also do inside here is also set the color. We can do that outside the for each loop, so we'll do gizmos dots and color, and that could be equal then to color.yellow. Okay, so let's go back into the IDE and see now when we run the application if we actually get some waypoints and some yellow dots on the screen. So back inside Unity, it's finished at last whirring away. So I'm going to select the track here then, and on the right hand side we can add a new component which is going to be our track builder here. We'll leave the interval now at 0.6. What we need to do is drag in our spline. So I'm going to get hold of the spline and drag this into here and do Control S to save. And now when we run the application, what we should get hopefully are some yellow dots on the screen if we have gizmos on anyway. Yes, we do. Cool. If you don't see these, the gizmos might be turned off. So on the right hand side at the top there, you can press the gizmos here to turn them on, and we have our waypoints on the screen. Cool. So I'll close that down. I want to quickly test the interval here. Let's make this 2. So something really, really big. Too big actually for what we need for the game, but let's just check we now have far less. Yep, that's good. And then we'll close that down. And finally, I'll do 0.4 just purely to see actually for this track later on how that might work. Okay, that's not too bad either. They're still nicely apart. All right then, so I'll press stop to close that down. When it comes to the actual logic for the cars and the navigation, we do need to make sure that the starting positions, or the grid if you like, is in the middle here, because they will pick this one automatically as their first waypoint to go for. That's all going to come later on now. What I'd like to do to finish this particular video is actually set things up so that we can chain the waypoints together. When we do the actual navigation, if I just run this again, as the cars actually get to a given waypoint, they're going to be assigned the next waypoint. And the way we're going to do that is by actually having a property on each waypoint called next, and that will hold a reference to the next waypoint. So when they get round to the end, so this one here, its next waypoint is this one here. So I'll stop that. Let's go back into VS Code. Then we'll add ourselves a class member here, which can be a waypoint, and that's going to be the next waypoint. We'll add ourselves a public getter for this as well, which is going to be next. And then we'll set this up actually from our track builder. So let's go to the track builder then. And where are we here? Below the build waypoints, let's write ourselves a new function called connect waypoints in this case. And I'd like to invoke this before we do anything else. So below the build waypoints, we'll then connect. And then here we'll make a for loop through all of the waypoints. So we'll have I equals 0. The length is going to be waypoints.count. Then we can say that our waypoint, and I'll call this WP, is equal then to waypoints at the index. And then we can say that the WP, and we want to be able to set the next here, don't we? Except I think we've got just the private variable and only a public getter here. So what we'll do is write ourselves a public function called setNext. So public void and setNext. We'll take in then a waypoint, which we'll call WP. And we can say that next is equal to WP. Then back to the track builder, we can now invoke the setNext, and the next one's going to be at the location of our waypoints I, but I plus 1 inside here. Now, if you're eagle-eyed here, you'll spot a bug in this, and that is that we're going to end up going over the end of the list when we get to the final element. So if we have 10 waypoints, let's say, when I is 9, that'll be the final one on the list because we're 0 indexed. I plus 1 will be 10, which will be off the end of the list. So what we'll do is use a modulo actually to wrap around. So we'll put this inside brackets, then we can get the modulo operator and modulate that by waypoints.count. So if I is 10, it'll wrap around, it'll become 0. And that should be now the waypoints connected. It's going to be hard to see this though, so what we can do is verify this maybe with a gizmo. So we'll draw a line from each waypoint to its following one. So what I'm going to do is actually cut this color one here and drop it back in here, because we're going to change the color of this for the line. So when it comes to drawing the line then, we'll change the color, let's say to blue, why not? Then we'll get hold of our gizmos dot and we'll draw a line. That line's going to be from this current waypoint dot and position. It's going to go to this waypoint dot next dot position. And if everything's set up okay, we should see some blue lines connecting all of our waypoints together. So back in the IDE then, Unity has a word away, and I've actually set the interval in the TrackBuilder to 1 here. I think it was 0.4 before. Let's run this. Actually, before we run this, I'm noticing the line is already blue here, isn't it? And I think I've just set a blue line. Sorry about that. I'm going to go back into the code. And then down the bottom here, let's set something different, actually. I'm going to set a white line here instead. And then back inside the IDE, we should be able to run this now then, and hopefully we can then see our white lines. Okay, and that is looking actually all right. So we have our white lines on here connecting up between our different waypoints. I'm going to close that down and go for a real extreme interval here, something like 4, which is completely non-playable. But again, I just want a verification that the lines are connecting together okay. And yep, that looks pretty good actually. We can see that our waypoints are all connected up. And that's essentially how the computer cars are going to navigate from waypoint to waypoint, obviously eventually with this deviation as well. So we can close that down. And with that done, I think that's a good place to stop this particular video. We have the spline drawn, we have the waypoints being created. Now we can start the process of building the computer AI, and we'll start that in the next video with actually getting them simply to go from waypoint to waypoint. So thanks very much for watching this one, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.